Right then, welcome back. Today we're going to do the Magny-Cours Masters event in the Invitational League. Now, it's been nearly 2 weeks since I uploaded a video because it's been sunny and I only do this for a bit of fun, and I was getting far too into it trying to put a video up every day. It's getting a bit too serious, so I just stepped away and had 2 weeks to myself, and I feel a lot better for it. Much happier place, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever box you want to tick. First event was a track day in the wet, and we went for the Yamaha FZR 750 OW01, bit of a unicorn bike, very, very trick for its day, and it was wet and it was slippy, very, very slippy. Had a tip off early on and thought, no bother, I'll carry on, I'll still be able to do it. And some of the AI were horrendously slow, and I was doing daft things like smashing at the back of them. So we ran out of time, and I got 14 passes into the gravel, and that was that done. So we had to go again. I did make a little bit of a tweak to the setup. I just made it just a touch stiffer on the front to stop that front tyre from overheating, and just a touch softer on the rear to try and get a bit more heat in the rear tyre. So 17 passes, 2 and a bit minutes. It should be pretty straightforward. The AI are on the racing line. It's just tricky. It's just about not getting too excited and doing what I always do and just dive into places like an absolute lunatic. So enjoy. She's done. A couple of goes to get that one sorted. It was the first time I've been on it for a few weeks, so it did take a little while to get used to it. I've mainly been playing Snow Runner, which going from the steering wheel to the pad was a bit of a shock to the system. Anyway, next race, 600cc race modified, and I was just trying to use bikes that I've not used before, so the Model Affinity is the gauge that I was going by. So GSXR 600, we've not used it before. I don't like the black wheels, so I painted them white, and that's what we're going to go with. Now, because it's Magny-Cours and I like it a lot, I really like this track. I only use qualifying to validate the setup of the bike. I don't actually set a time. I always try and foul the lap in the last couple of corners. So every time there's a qualifying session, I was just not setting a lap time, start from the back of the grid. And this one, well, this was yeah, this was a good race. This was a very good race. We had a little bit of a mishap early on. I think it was down towards the 180-degree corner. But we end up in last place, and we are a fair chunk of time behind. It's on max difficulty, and well, let's just say it was a pretty serious run back to the field. and it's done proper. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed watching it again. It was a very, very, very entertaining race. I turned the wheelie control off. You would have seen the bike, the front wheel lifting off the floor quite a lot. I thought I could get away with the 600s, but they're a bit lively, and I've got a really old Xbox One X controller. It's knackered. It pulls to the left on the stick, and the trigger's just not quite right. So this is what it is. It was a really good race. I really enjoyed it. On to event 3, time attack. Only 2 bikes to choose from: Brutale 800 or the RVS. And I was like, what do I go for? They're much of a muchness. I've used them about the same. And in the end, I went for the RVS. Why? Because it's got a higher rating, it's got a bit more power, a bit less weight. And we were tasked with beating a 147, I think it was. Throw setup in. I've not used this bike for a while, so the setup was a bit skew with. I've done a couple of setup videos now, and the shock absorber settings on the front and the back, I always tend to run them quite soft. So it is what it is. 147 point something to beat. Single lap, Magny-Cours, and we do it quite easy in the end. Another one done. Front tyre was complaining a bit. Oh, they need to run a slightly stiffer tyre or harder front suspension. We did it by 7.5 seconds in the end. So it's not a massively difficult target. Just same as always, don't fall off. If you don't fall off, you'll be absolutely fine. It's no problem. So another one done, and the next one is a 1000cc race modified. You could either use nakeds or sport bikes, and there was just, don't give someone who can't make his mind up what to use this much choice. I was all over the place. Do I use this? I want to use the new Ducati Street Fighter because it's an absolute monster, but it's faster than everything else. Oh, I'll use that, I'll use the other. And in the end, I plonked for the Speed Triple S. Why? Well, the PI rating, the performance rating, it's technically the slowest of pretty much every bike that there is available to use with this race. And because I was trying to be a bit of a clever knob, I wanted a bit of a challenge. So again, we're starting at the back of the grid. It's 5 laps, and yeah, it's a bit chewy, this one, a little bit chewy. It's done. Done. Not the most, what's the word I'm looking for, exciting race in the world. I got to the front by the end of lap 1 and just vanished into the distance, trying not to fall off. 10-second lead in the end. So it was alright. The bike setup probably a bit too stiff on the front end. I could have softened it off a bit. The rear tyre was starting to complain, but it was alright. It's just a bit understeery, that the front end being a bit hard. It didn't want to go into the corners like I would have liked it to, but it's done. Right, last event. Don't worry, the full endurance race isn't on here. Will do a separate video with a full endurance race on there, because I know some weirdos like watching them, but it's a bit of a highlights rather than anything else. So again, I have what I haven't used, and it turns out that the SP1 is what, 70 performance points behind pretty much everything else. I was having a scan through, it looks like I've used pretty much everything else, so it's like, I'll go for the SP1 then. What I didn't realise at the time was that if you use the SP1, everyone else is on the SP1, so I basically turned it into a one bike endurance race. Again, I used qualifying to set the bike up. What I didn't factor in very well was the change in track temperature and ambient temperature that would affect the bike so much. So I set the bike up on a medium and a soft, and in the race I think I went for a hard, and it was absolutely stone cold. But you'll see I had a bit of a tweak with the setup, and I just went the wrong way. I should have left it as it was, because the front tyre was just absolutely freezing. I'm in last. I do fall off pretty much straight away. I don't know what I was playing at into the first corner. The AI starts are still horrendous as well, just absolutely poor. And as it came off the autopilot, I had the trigger pulled fully in, the throttle fully open, so the bike just surged forward and off I went. It took me a lap to catch up with the back end of the pack, and then it was just a case of working my way through. After the 8-hour race, this was, well, it seemed to be over rather quickly. It felt like a 40-minute sprint race rather than a make your tyres and fuel last endurance race, but I guess it's nowhere near as long as an 8-hour race. So it just, like I say, the AI, they're alright. I just seem to get on with this track. It doesn't seem to matter what bike I'm on. I really enjoy it. It's nice. You can set the AI up. You can run slightly wider into a corner and cut back underneath. You've just got to be wary of the anti-wheelie and the traction control. Try and run as little of everything as you can. Engine braking, run the maximum that you can. There's nothing wrong with the back end of the bike, just stepping out. I mean, the AI were putting up a fight, as you've just seen. They weren't exactly just rolling over and letting me past, but yeah, I was on a different planet. So as I said, it was a case of working my way to the front and just not panicking. But this run wide, let him go into the corner first, cut back underneath him, get on the gas, and it's a really nice way to make up time at Magny-Cours if you can get over to the left hand side of the track for that corner. It's difficult because you've just come out that second chicane. You can do it again there. You can force him into a tight entry, which forces him wide on the exit, and you nip underneath. So start of lap 3, we started at the back, we binned it, and we're up to third. You can see pretty much what's going to happen. I was getting a bit giddy into the 180. I'm getting very, very cocky, leant over on the brakes, down I go into the gravel, get back on, I'm in 5th, and we have a bit of a fair and bash with the AI, and then everything settles down again, and there's still 35 minutes left. We've only been racing for 5 minutes, and I could feel myself panicking that I need to get to the front. It's just because I've not played the game for a couple of weeks, and I just need to get that incessant need to be at the front. I need to remember that it doesn't matter. The AI will make a mess of it, or I'll save a fortune of time on the pit stops, and everything will be good. So we got back to the front, nothing particularly interesting happened. We've got less than a second's worth of penalties. I'm pretty much out of fuel. The front tyre is absolutely stone cold. There's 15 minutes left. So I went for a medium front, I went for the soft rear. The reason I go for a soft rear, I think the bike's too fast and heavy. It'll just flatten it, which means the braking areas will be an absolute nightmare. So I've gone with a medium. I stick whatever fuel in I think I need to get me through the 15 minutes. And thankfully, it all works out alright. Just one thing before we commence with the rest of this this highlights package. The pit lane is massive. It just goes on forever and ever and ever and ever, and then it spits you out just as you would normally be getting on the brakes for the Estoril corner turn 3. So just be wary that when it spits you out the pits, you're not hard on the gas. I think I learnt my lesson from the start and I was a little bit wary of it, but yeah, let's say last lap, time's run out, 24 laps overall. We've got a minute and 22 lead. The tyres are looking much more healthy, and we've got a decent chunk of fuel left. It was a good race. I like the track. If you don't like the track, it'll be shit. I understand that. The bike was okay, not the best thing in the world. It isn't the fastest endurance bike on the game, but it's very, very usable, very wieldy. You're not constantly fighting the front end all the time. So 5 events for Magny-Cours and 5 golds. It's done. There is no prize, just a feeling of smug satisfaction within yourself when it's all done and dusted. But we're back on it, so I will endeavour to keep the videos coming. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and please leave me a comment, a like, and subscribe if you enjoy it. There'll be plenty more to come, and fingers crossed, I shall see you next time. Stay safe. Peace.